Let's talk about gravity. It's this ultimate constant in our lives, right? It's the invisible force holding our oceans down, shaping our mountains, and keeping our feet planted firmly on the ground. It's kind of the silent partner in every single moment of our existence. But what if that silent partner suddenly decided to change the rules of the For 4.5 billion years, pretty much every single thing on this planet, from the strength of our bones to the height of the tallest trees, has been fine-tuned and perfectly optimized for this one unchanging value, 1G. It's the fundamental architectural blueprint of our entire reality. But what if that constant wasn't? What if, in one single silent moment, the force that governs absolutely everything suddenly doubled? And we're not talking about a gradual change here. This is a violent, instantaneous recalibration of the laws of physics. And the math is just brutally simple. That number we all learned in school, 9.8 meters per second squared, boom, it's now 19.6. Instantly, everywhere on Earth, every single system, from the microscopic to the cosmic, now has to deal with a terrifying new reality. So, welcome to a 2G world. The consequences are immediate, they are total, and they begin with the one thing none of us can escape: our own bodies. Okay, so where does this all even begin? Well, it starts on the most personal scale you can possibly imagine. Forget about the planet for a second. What happens to you? In an instant, your weight doubles. A 70-kilogram person now feels like they weigh 140 kilos. And look, this isn't like just putting on a heavy backpack. This new weight is inside every single cell, every organ, all the fluid in your body. The sheer effort just to stand up would be immense. For a lot of people, it would be flat out impossible. And this brings us to the physics happening inside your own body. See, your heart's main job is to fight gravity to get oxygen up to your brain. That's all about hydrostatic pressure, and with the G in that formula now doubled, your heart would have to generate absolutely insane blood pressure, over 200 mmHg, just to stop you from blacking out every time you stood up. It's a total systems failure. Blood would just pool violently in your legs, putting your heart under catastrophic strain. Capillaries would start bursting. Even breathing, well, that becomes a monumental effort, because you'd have to lift a chest wall that suddenly weighs twice as much with every single breath you take.
So while all of humanity is basically pinned to the ground, the world we built around us starts to literally fall apart. Every structure we have ever made was designed for 1G. That one single design assumption has just been proven fatally, catastrophically wrong.
Just think about it for a second. The dead load, which is just the weight of a structure in itself, has just doubled. For skyscrapers, for massive bridges, for dams, that's the main force they're built to resist. You know those safety margins engineers build in for things like wind or people? Yeah, those are gone, instantly erased. And the result is just horrifying. Floor slabs, now twice as heavy, would just rip away from their central cores. The source material describes it as a pancaking collapse, turning our greatest cities into nothing but dust and rubble in a matter of moments. Now, this catastrophe isn't just about us and the stuff we've built. The entire biosphere, the whole system of life on Earth, is facing a hard reset. The fundamental rules for survival have just been completely rewritten. Let's start with trees. You know how they pull water all the way up to their highest leaves? Well, in a 2G world, the force needed is just too much. The columns of water inside the tallest trees would literally snap. It's a process called cavitation. The maximum possible height for trees would be cut in half. The great forests of the world would just die from the top down. And for animals, being big suddenly becomes a fatal liability. Think about the megafauna. Elephants, giraffes, they're already pushing the limits of biomechanics. At 2G, their skeletons would just give out. Soaring birds wouldn't be able to generate enough lift, they'd be grounded forever. So who inherits this crushed new Earth? The small. Insects. Rodents. Biology has been reset to zero. And believe it or not, the chaos isn't just happening down here on the ground. Even the sky itself, and everything up in it, is about to be terrifyingly transformed. Gravity is what holds our atmosphere to the planet. So if you double it, you basically compress all the air, pulling it down tighter to the surface. Air pressure at sea level would double. And that forces way more oxygen into our lungs with every breath. Over time, the very air we need to live would start to poison us, causing serious long-term lung damage. And what about everything above the atmosphere? Well, for all those satellites in low Earth orbit, their speed is suddenly not nearly fast enough to fight the new, much stronger gravity. They wouldn't just fall straight down, they'd start a decaying orbit. Within about 90 minutes, the entire shell of human technology in space, the ISS, Starlink, the Hubble telescope, would burn up on re-entry, turning the sky into this terrifying final fireworks display. But the real spectacle, the most terrifying thing you'd see, would be the moon. It's too far away to crash into us, but it would get yanked into a new, much closer orbit. At its closest point, it would only be about a third of its current distance from us. It would just loom there, monstrously huge in the sky. And here is the apocalyptic finale. Okay, so tidal forces get stronger fast the closer you get. We're talking about the cube of the distance. So when the moon swings 3 times closer and you combine that with Earth's doubled gravity, the tides would be 54 times stronger. These would be world-ending tsunamis, hundreds of meters high, that would just wash over the continents twice a day, every single day. So let's just take a breath and recap this whole nightmare. Our bodies fail, our cities collapse into dust, our atmosphere becomes toxic, the entire biosphere resets, killing off all the large animals, and our own moon becomes an agent of global destruction. Basically, the world as we know it, everything about it, it just can't exist at 2G. It leaves you with a pretty profound thought, doesn't it? Our whole civilization, our very evolution, it all exists because of the grace of one single stable number. It really makes you wonder, what other invisible numbers, what other constants are out there holding our entire reality together that we just completely take for granted?